Ferrari says it's launching its first fully electric vehicle late next year, and the company CEO says it's gonna be loud.
Yeah, Benedetto Vigna says the luxury sports car will feature, quote, sound signatures that will stir emotions. Ferrari is also opening a new production site in Italy this June. So let's bring in David Welch to talk about this more. He's the Detroit bureau chief for Bloomberg News. David, so what more can you tell us about Ferrari's plans for this EV? Sounds exciting.
Look, it's going to be a real Ferrari and probably faster than the ones that run on gasoline. EVs are super fast. Teslas have been beating other vehicles from 0 to 60 times for years. As far as the noise, look, EVs are silent. If you drive one, there is sort of a subtle whine that you can hear as the car accelerates. And while Ferrari hasn't given us details, maybe they could amp that up a bit so it would be sort of a futuristic, well, we can't call it an exhaust note because there's no exhaust, but could be some sort of futuristic version of that. Or maybe they take this patented exhaust note of theirs, which, by the way, they have literally patented. And you could kind of download that into your car the way you download a ringtone to your phone. I've always wondered why EVs haven't already been doing this. You could
That's
maybe
cool.
download Ferrari's exhaust note or a Ford Model T or anything you wanted.
Or just something like, hey, get out of the way.
Right.
Remember? That was like out of the 90s or something. There used to be people who had like a button they could press and then the car would just yell at you on the street.
It was a thing on commercials where it was like you set up a little box outside of your car and you'd be like, hey, girls, check me out. Sorry, David. We're reminiscing here.
Ferrari is not
this would be good for pedestrians, though, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
And that was a complaint sort of early on with these electric vehicles, especially for people who were maybe impaired in terms of their hearing, that you just couldn't hear these vehicles. But, you know, Ferrari's not the only one that has like a signature sound that people associate with. So other companies, I think Dodge had to sort of wrestle with this. Maybe the Mustang, you would probably know better than me. But I want to ask you, like, what is it about the sentimental attachment to the roar of an engine for drivers?
Well, specifically with sports cars, Ferrari does have a very, I guess, specific or special exhaust note to it that drivers really get, those who can afford them. You know, in some vehicles like the performance version of a Mini, it's called the John Cooper Works Edition. If you're in the high performance version of the drive, it actually has something that sounds almost like a backfiring at the end, and it's all basically electronically generated. It's a real sound for the car, but it's programmed to do it, and it's something that performance people like. So it's more with sports cars than other vehicles, but people do sort of like, because we've been driving gasoline-powered vehicles for 120 years, they kind of like that hum or that note that they get from the exhaust, and maybe companies want to do this. And again, you could switch them up day by day if you were able to download them. And it's something that people have talked about for years. I just haven't seen anybody do it yet. Maybe that's where Ferraris go.
I'd like my car to sound like a purring cat.
Okay. Well, a lot of people like that. And I wonder then, what kind of competition does Ferrari face in the EV space? And I don't mean like, you know, Priuses. I mean like other companies like Ferrari, like Jaguar and Rolls-Royce and some of those makers, Alfa Romeo.
A lot of the super luxury brands are going to be working on EVs. General Motors, rather, they've got a Corvette coming out. It's a plug-in hybrid. It's going to be called the E-Ray. That would maybe compete with a Ferrari, at least among sports car buyers. So, look, you know, Ferrari is such rarefied air. You'd really need an EV from the likes of Lamborghini or Bentley to really go up against those vehicles. And look, people who buy Ferraris have multiple other vehicles in the garage. So is it competition, or is it just adding another vehicle to this big parking lot that these kinds of consumers have? Probably more of that.
So this is kind of interesting. Some EV owners are noticing that their tires need to be replaced faster and cost more than internal combustion vehicles. I have an EV and I did have to change my tire, like I think within the first 3 months of having it. And I did wonder about that, but I thought it was just sort of bad luck. What's going on here? And are tire companies kind of trying to how are tire companies dealing with this?
So research has shown that on electric vehicles, tires wear out about 20% faster. And the reason is, first off, EVs are heavier, but they're also a lot faster. If you hit the accelerator on an EV, you'll notice you take off a lot quicker than you will, even with a pretty fast gasoline-powered vehicle. that just wears down rubber more quickly, and the weight will too. So people are just going to need to replace their tires that much more often unless they sort of figure out how to drive the car so that they don't accelerate quite as hard and there's less friction on it. So look, it's going to be good for the tire makers, maybe not so good for the consumers unless people feather the accelerator a little bit and don't wear the tires out as much.
Wait, are you suggesting that we slow down? Is that what you said?
Slow down off the line, sure.
I don't like David that much anymore.
Don't like that.
David, we love having you here.
You can drive however you want. You just have to pay for the tires and the electricity.
Yeah, well, I don't like that. So it's good advice. David Welch, thank you very much.